Hi friends, welcome to Mule for Learn from D series of videos. Today we are going to discuss about configuring HTTPS with Mule 4. So as part of this discussion, we will see the private key, public key, what is key pair. Then we will also see what is digital certificate, what is identity store, what is trust store. As part of scenarios, we will go through with two scenarios. First one is the secure service with one-way SSL, and the second one is the secure service with two-way SSL, which is also known as mutual authentication. Okay, so before going to the actual implementation, I would like to give you some theoretical background of the actual implementation. So let's see what are the things are involved in configuring HTTPS with Mule 4. Here are the elements. So we will deal with private key, public key, certificate file. Also we will see certificate authority, certificate signing request, that is CSR, and then .p12 file, also chain of trust. This thing we will theoretically we will go through. Also we will see key stores, also called as identity store. Basically key store are of two types. One is the identity store, another is the trust store. And also we will use the client applications, which are basically used for sending the requests to our service, that is the HTTP, where we are about to configure the HTTPS, right? So let's move ahead. So let's have a look into the major benefits of using SSL or TLS. Let me tell you here that SSL is basically a secure socket layer, and TLS is the successor of it. So, and the full form is transport layer security. The first one is the encryption. Encryption is the process of converting the human readable message or the data to a random format. For this purpose, we are about to use RSA algorithm. And also the second one is the integrity. What is integrity? This basically confirms whether the message was altered during the transmission or not. Okay, so as part of integrity we will use hashing and we will prepare the digest. So those things we will see. Third one is the authentication. Authentication confirms the identity of the sender and receiver. These are the major benefits of using SSL or TLS. If we think about the encryption, these are basically of two types. First one is the symmetric, where a shared secret key is used and the sender uses this shared secret key to encrypt the message, the plain text data. It actually use this shared secret key to encrypt that message, and then that message travels through the network, and it actually reaches to the recipient end. The receiver actually use the same shared key to decrypt the data, right? So this is how the symmetric encryption works. Here is the asymmetric encryption. Unlike symmetric encryption, it is having two type of keys. One is the public key, another is the private key. Public key is basically for sharing with others, and the private key is to keep it with the actual receiver, right? So here we have to understand, whenever we are talking about, suppose a sender is trying to send some message to the receiver, in that case basically the sender have to use the public key of the receiver to encrypt the message. Okay, it is not the sender's public key, it is the receiver's public key it has to use. And the sender will encrypt the plain text message using the public key of the receiver, and once the message is encrypted, it will travel through the network and it will reach the receiving end, and at the receiving end the receiver will use the private key to decrypt that message, and once the decryption is successful, the receiver would be able to read the actual message. Okay, so this public key and private key, they are generated in such a way that they forms a key pair. Okay, so that means once a message is encrypted using a particular public key from a specific key pair, then that encrypted message can only be decrypted using the private key of that particular key pair. Okay, so this thing we have to remember. And now we will see what is hashing. Hashing is the technique of splitting the actual message content into fixed length blocks and then apply some algorithm over it to prepare a digest. So the hashing basically uses a kind of algorithm which generates a kind of random numeric values which is considered as digest, and hashing is one way only. Okay, so that means once hashing is performed upon a message or a block of message, then we cannot revert back from the digest to the message. Okay, that thing we have to remember. So here comes the most important thing, that is the browser. Whenever a browser is installed in the operating system, that actually comes with the list of trusted CA certificates. Okay, and this CA certificates actually holds the public key of the CAs and serves as the trust anchors to derive all further trust related actions. What does that mean? Whenever we use a browser as the client to access some HTTPS web service from the server, that time the server actually presents the digital certificate of it to the browser, and the browser actually checks the digital certificate. How it can verify it? Because the digital certificate will have the digital signature of the CA, that is the certificate authority, and the signature in the digital certificate is basically encrypted using the private key of the CA. So now you can see that if your browser is already having the public keys of the CAs, that means your browser would be able to decrypt that particular digital signature, and it will be able to verify that the digital certificate which is provided by the server, it is basically signed by the authorized certificate authority, right, for which the browser has the public key stored in it, right? So this is how it actually works. And this process of verifying the identity of the server, and in some cases we will see that there would be some verification done in case of from client perspective also. So this process is called as TLS handshake. Sometime we will find that there would be chain of certificates, right? That means multiple certificates would be related with each other and would be presented as a single certificate to the client or to the server as part of verifying the identity of that particular server or the client. Okay, the certificate CA certificates, those are basically from root CA. So root certificates actually do expire, but they tend to have exceptionally long validity times, often about 20 years. You can expect that with an update of your browser or OS, you will get fresh root certificates before the old ones expire. So that means for the root certificate, you don't need to explicitly install. So it automatically comes with the OS or the browser. This is a picture where I have tried to show you that how the authentication is actually done. So this is a kind of mutual authentication where the client actually initiates the secure connection and the server actually replies with its digital certificate. This digital certificate I was talking about in the earlier slide. So this digital certificate is actually signed by the certificate authority, right? So once the client receives the digital certificate of the server, it actually verifies that signature which is present there in the digital certificate. And how it will verify? Because the client is already the browser at the client side is already having the public keys root CA certificates, so it will be able to decrypt that signature which is present there in the digital certificate of the server. So similarly, if the server wants to verify the identity of the client, the same steps can also be performed. As you see here, the server is also trying to verify the client, and the client is also trying to verify the server, right, using the certificate authority signature. So this is so these are the three things we were talking about, three main advantages of using SSL or TLS. First one was the encryption, where we have seen the symmetric and asymmetric. Then we have the integrity, which is basically implemented through applying the hashing. And the third one is the authentication, which basically confirms the identity of the client and server, right? Steps performed before sending the actual data. So digital certificates are actually exchanged. See, I'm multiple times I am actually mentioning the digital certificates. We will basically see what is digital certificate in the later slides. So digital certificates actually used to contain the public key of the owner of that particular digital certificate. That means suppose a server has the digital certificate, that means it will contain the public key of that particular server. Okay, so once the digital certificates are exchanged, this confirms the identity of the sender and the receiver during a secure communication initiation, right? And this is called authentication. So after the authentication is successful, a secret session key is actually decided. That means once the client actually receives the digital certificate, and then it actually verifies the digital certificate of the server. Similarly, once the server receives the digital certificate of the client, it also verifies the digital certificate of the client, right? And as a result, if the server finds that the client is trustable, also the client finds that the server is trustable, then the client actually agrees, or it actually generates a session key for sending the data in that particular session. And that is called a secret session key, right? And this key is valid only for that session, and only for that session. Okay, this secret key is transferred in a way like it is actually encrypted with the public key of the receiver. That means the client sends the secret session key by encrypting it with the public key of the server. And here comes the asymmetric key encryption. So what will happen? Once the receiver, that means the server, receives the secret session key at the server end, it will successfully decrypt that particular message which is having the secret session key. It will be able to decrypt that using the private key of the server, right? This way the server will retrieve the secret session key for that particular session. After these steps, the actual message transfer it actually gets initiated. So once the message is ready to be transferred, that means before sending the actual message, the message is divided into fixed length blocks, because we want to apply the hashing above those fixed length blocks, and we will generate the digest. Why the digest is required? Because at the receiving end we want to perform some kind of checking which will verify the integrity of that particular message. That means whether the message was altered during the transmission or not. Okay, so that thing we will verify. That is the reason at the step number 5, the actual message is actually divided into fixed length blocks to apply the hashing on them. Once the digests are generated for each block, secret session key is used during the digest generation. Okay, Now the first block is encrypted using the secret session key, right? So that means during the sharing of secret session key, asymmetric encryption was used. After this step, when the hashing is performed, then the hash values, that means the digests, those things are actually encrypted using the secret session key. Here comes the symmetric encryption, right? So in a secure communication, both the asymmetric encryption and the symmetric encryption takes place, right? So once the message is encrypted using the session key, using the secret session key, it is transferred through the network, and once it reaches to the receiver side, as the receiver is already, that means the server is already having the secret session key of that particular session, that means it would be able to successfully decrypt that message and retrieve that particular message block and the hash value, that means the digest, right? So how it will verify whether that particular message is correct or not? It will again apply the same hashing algorithm over that particular message block, and it will again generate the digest at the receiver end. So what will happen at this point of time? The receiver will have two digest values, one which it has received with the message which was sent from the sender to the receiver, that means from the client to the server, and the second one is the digest which it has recently generated. And now it will verify these two digest values. If the values matches, that means if these digest values are identical, then it will confirm that the message was not altered during the transmission. If the digest doesn't match, that means the message was altered and this is an incorrect message. This is how it actually works. The same thing happens with the other blocks. That means suppose a big message is there and the message has been divided into fixed length blocks and it is having n blocks. The same steps are actually performed over those all the blocks, all the message blocks, and then they are actually encrypted using the secret session key of that particular session, and then transferred from the client to the server, that means from the sender to the receiver, right? Once the session is over, secret session key is invalidated. So these are the steps which are performed once data is received at receiving end. We have already discussed this. Now we will see what is key store. What are the purpose of key stores? So here we are talking about the key stores at server side. Basically, key stores are the files which stores the identity related information, right? So here we will deal with two kind of key stores. First one is the identity store and the second one is the trust store. The purpose of identity store is to present the identity of the particular server in this picture, and the identity store holds the private key and also the digital certificate of that particular server. And the basic purpose of using identity store is basically encryption and decryption. What is the purpose of trust store? Trust store actually performs the client authentication, right? And this root CA certificate, intermediate CA certificate, and other thing, we will see it later. So the trust store actually stores the client's digital certificate. That means suppose there is server A and we want to connect to that server and to use some service of that server. Okay, in that case, if the trust store is configured at the server side, in that case, without the digital certificate present, without the client's digital certificate present in the trust store, we won't be able to connect to the server using the secure communication. Okay, so that means if I have Postman and I have a Mule HTTP service which is running at the Mule server, so if I want to connect to that particular server, then the Postman which I am using here, the Postman is actually acting as the client. So this client's digital certificate should be present in the trust store. We will see in deep during the implementation of these steps. So these are the basically steps which are used for generating the private key and the digital certificate. Let me tell you that the digital certificates are actually issued by the certificate authority. Okay, so the first step before actually getting the digital certificate, the first and very initial step is generating the private key. So this is the command which is basically used for generating the private key, and we are using OpenSSL commands here. Okay, once the private key is generated, a public key is created using that particular private key, and by doing this a key pair is generated. That means the private key and public key are actually binds together and they forms a key pair. As you can see, the private key is basically a .txt file, whereas the public key is basically a .cer file. Okay, once the public key is created, a CSR request, that means the certificate signing request, is raised to the CA, and then that CSR contains the public key of the server. Okay, so let me repeat once again. First we will create the private key and then we will generate the public key using that particular private key, and by doing this a key pair is formed. Once the public key is generated, we will use that public key to raise a CSR request with the certificate authority. Right? So once the CSR is generated, we will send that particular CSR to the certificate authority, and certificate authority will verify the details which are present there inside the CSR. A CSR basically contains the server related information for which the digital certificate is requested, also the organization unit name, and also the public key of that particular server. So these are the things it contains. So once the CA validates those details of the server, then it actually signs signs the digital certificate of that particular server and sends that to the requester. Okay, so once the digital certificate is received from the CA, we need to import them, both the private key and the digital certificate, to a P12 file, and then we will generate the key store. Okay, so we will generate the key store, and in case we need the trust store, then only we will add the client's digital certificates to the trust store. So this is the picture which actually tells how the digital certificate provided by the certificate authority is actually verified. Okay, so once the CSR is requested, that means after generating the private key and the public key, the CSR request is raised as we discussed. So once the CSR is received at the certificate authority end, they verifies those details, and as part of the process they actually generates a digital certificate which is signed by this CA. Sometimes we call it as root CA, sometimes we will call it as intermediate CA. We will see them in details in the later slides. So here, as you can see, the CSR data is actually used for making some kind of hash value after applying the hashing algorithm, and once the hash value is generated, this is called the this step, like the CSR data is actually signed by the CA. How it is signed? So a unique value, that means the hash value, is generated using this particular CSR data, and that hash value is encrypted using the private key of the CA. So this particular section is called as the digital signature. Okay, so once the digital signature is there in that with the CSR data, that forms the digital certificate. Okay, so that forms the digital certificate. Now the CA sends that digital certificate over network to the requester, that means to the server from where the CSR request was actually raised. And once the digital certificate is received at the server end, it will be able to decrypt that particular digital signature. It will be able to get that hash value, okay, using the public key which is stored there with the browser of that particular server, because the servers will have the public key of the root certificate, CA, that means the root certificate authority. Okay, so this is how the encryption and decryption is done for the digital certificate which is shared from the CA to the server side or the requester. The same thing can also be happen for the client also, in case the client requests some digital certificate for its identity purpose. Okay, the same steps will happen, but in that case the digital certificate would be sent to the client. In this case, the digital certificate is sent to the from the signer CA to the server, because the server actually requested for this. So how the authenticity or the verification is done? It is the same way. Like once the hash value is once the decryption is performed, the receiving end actually gets the hash value, and what it does, it applies the same hashing algorithm over the CSR data, over the other details which are there. So it applies the same hashing algorithm and it generates the hash value again. Once this hash values matches, then it confirms that okay, that particular digital signature is valid. So this is how it actually verifies. In this picture, I have tried to describe the steps using some pictorial representation. So here, as you can see, at the application side, this application could be like from the server side or from the client side. Okay, so in case the client wants to present its identity to anyone, then the client needs anyone who wants to present its identity to the outside world, they will need the digital certificate from the certificate authority, that is the CA. Okay, so if they have the digital certificate of the signed by the CA, that means the outside world will believe them, that means they will trust them and they will initiate connectivity whenever required with those systems. So as part of the process, the application first generates the private key and then it uses that private key to generate the public key, and by doing this a key pair is performed. And as you can see, this is the private key is actually a .txt file and public key is a .crt file. Basically it is CER file. I have this T won't be there. So once the public key is generated, a CSR is requested to the root CA, in case the root CA is the signer here. In case the intermediate CA is there, in that case the CSR would be raised to the intermediate CA. Let me tell you what is root CA and what is intermediate CA. Root CA is basically a global certificate authority who actually performs the verification, identity verification, and signs the digital certificates. But there are some other sub companies who actually does a kind of who actually performs this kind of identity verification also, and those are not that much big, but those are the subset of you can say that those are partners. That means the root CA root CA has given some kind of authority to those intermediate CA to issue some digital certificate to the actual user, right? So it is like, suppose someone believes me and I believe my friend. So they are in the as per the rule of dependency, that person is actually trusting my friend, because he trusts me and I trust my friend. So this is kind of root CA and intermediate CA. Okay, so here we can say that my friend is the root CA and my friend suppose believes me. That means I am the intermediate CA, and I believe the user. That means the where from I believe someone, some person. So that actually verifies that, okay, so as per the chain of trust, that person can be, the actual user can be trusted. So this is how it actually works. Okay, and here I have shown you that the OS and its browsers actually comes with the public certificate, the root CA certificates, which is having the public key of the CA. So this is how it actually looks like. As you can see, the SSL or TLS or the digital certificate from the root CA or the intermediate CA, it contains the requester app info, also the public key of that particular app, the signer CA info, that means who has signed this certificate, also the hash value, which is basically encrypted using the private key of the certificate authority. And as you can see, the private key of the server and the digital certificate received from the CA, that actually combines and imported into a .p12 file, and we store that in the keystore file. Okay, so this is keystore.jks, and for preparing the keystore.jks, we have to provide a password, and these are the steps actually implemented at the server side. Okay, so I have mentioned it here. So once the key store is created, we would be able to use that for configuring the HTTPS in the MuleFlow. Okay, so this is how it actually looks. So here I have mentioned about the intermediate CSR, also a CSR to the intermediate certificate authority. So here as you can see, basically two certificates are presented to the requester. One is the digital certificate of the which is signed by the intermediate CA, and second is the digital certificate of the intermediate CA, which is actually signed by the root CA. So that means once the CSR is raised to the intermediate certificate authority, the CSR, as the reply to the CSR request, the intermediate CA sends two digital certificate. One is the digital certificate of the particular app where from the request actually raised, CSR request was raised, and another digital certificate is the identity of that intermediate CA. As I said you that the intermediate CA acts as a middleman here. So it says like, as the two digital certificates are presented to the app, so the first digital certificate, as you can see, the intermediate digital certificate is first decrypted using the public key of the root CA, and once it is decrypted, this hash value is retrieved. That means this certificate is valid, okay, at the application side. So once this digital certificate is trusted, that means this public key would be retrieved, this public key of the intermediate CA would be retrieved by the application, right? And this public key would be used to decrypt this hash value in the application specific digital certificate. Okay, so in this way, this two certificate would be actually verified, and as you can see, the root certificate believes the intermediate root certificate root CA has signed the digital certificate of the intermediate CA, and the intermediate CA has signed the digital certificate of the application, right? So there a chain of trust is actually has been made, right? So this way, this intermediate certificate authority acts. So in case you have the intermediate certificate authority, that need to be added to the trust store. Okay, and the root CA automatically comes with the OS and the browser. So most of the time we don't need to install the root CA. Okay, and the key store will have the same thing, the digital certificate of the server of the actual application where from the CA server was raised, and the private key of that server. We have to remember that we never ever share the private key of the application or the server or the client to anyone. Okay, so private key is to keep with that particular application only. So here is the chain of trust which we have discussed a few minutes back. So in the earlier slide we have discussed. So this is how it actually works. Here I have tried to show you the purpose of key store and trust store at the client side. Okay, so basic purpose of identity store, here identity store we actually most of the time used to refer using the key store keyword. Okay, so rather we say identity store. So the basic purpose of identity store is to storing the private key and the client's digital certificate, which will also have the public key of that particular client. And the trust store will have the digital certificate of the server, will store the digital certificate of the server, and also the root CA and the intermediate CA. Okay, so root CA need not to be installed because it is already comes with the browser. So the purpose is same. The identity store performs the encryption and decryption, and the trust store actually performs the server authentication. Okay, so here in case of client, the trust store performs the server authentication. That means it verifies the server's identity, and in case of server, the trust store basically verifies the identity of the client. Okay, so for both the cases, for the client, identity store stores the private key of the client and the public key of the client and the client's digital certificate, right? And in case of let me go to that slide also. So in case of server's identity store, it stores the private key of the server and server's digital key, which is having the public key of that server, and the trust store of that server will actually store the client's digital certificate. Okay, we will see that how this trust store and the identity store plays role in the one-way and two-way SSL. Okay, so we will see that. So these are the same steps which needs to be performed at the client side to prepare the certificates, to prepare the private key, public key, and the key store and trust store things. So we will follow this to generate the certificate, to generate the keys. Okay, and here let me tell you that as we are about to create we are about to implement the HTTPS. So here we don't have any, we are not going to use any valid CA here. That means the certificate authority we won't be using. I just mentioned the concept so that you can understand that the actual process of getting the certificates. So here we will be using the self-signed certificate. Okay, so the CA part we will skip here and we will use the self-signed certificate here, and we will see that we will be able to successfully implement the one-way and two-way SSL. So here the same thing I have mentioned for the client side also. So the same thing we similar kind of steps also we performed at the server side, and in this slide it is showing as the client side. Okay, the same thing. So here comes the actual implementation step. So let's configure the actual private key. Let's create the private key, public key, and other things. So by so far what we have understood is like the client can also have identity store as well as the trust store, and the server can also have identity store and the trust store. For client, the identity store stores the private key of the client and the digital certificate of the client. And also for client, the trust store stores the digital certificate of those systems or of those applications whom it actually wants to trust. Okay, so trust store is actually responsible for validating the identity of the requester. Okay, so where from the request is coming, the from so that identity of that requester would be validated by the trust store. Okay, so this is how we will so these are the basic things which we want to implement here. In case of server, it can also have the key store as well as the that means key store means I want to refer to the identity store. So the identity store as well as the trust store, right? So what we will do, we will configure these configurations and we will use that in the mule flow. Okay, so first we will create the certificates at the create the private key and public key at the mule site, mule where the mule runtime is running, that means at the server side. Okay, so to generate the private key and public key, I am about to use OpenSSL here. So to use that, first you need to actually install Git, and I have Git installed in my system. So as you can see, it is installed in my system, so I will quickly go there, and for the demonstration purpose, I have already listed down the commands which I need to perform at the server side as well as at the client side. Okay, so these are the commands we need to perform, as I have already mentioned these commands in the slides. So let me just use this, and what I will do is I'll just open OpenSSL, and here I will just put this message. So as you can see, it will generate the files at this path, that is in the C drive. It will go to digital DigiWorld folder, and then the SSL in the SSL folder. So right now it is not having any certificate, as you can see. Let's press enter and we'll see that the private key is actually created. So let's have a look what is the private key. So as you can see, this is how the private key actually looks like. Now we will create the public key using the private key. As you can see here, I have used the private key file to create the public key. So during creating the public key, as I said, that we need to mention some information. So these are the information we have to use. And the organization name, I will give it as DigiWorld. And the organization unit name, I will give it as Mule. Okay, and the common name, I'll put it as email address, I will give it as and now we will see that another file is generated. This is the public certificate. Okay, so this is the public certificate. You can use Java Key Explorer. So that is a tool basically using which you can explore what is the details of this particular public key, particular certificate. Okay, so in the real life scenario, if we talk about the projects, there using this public key file, a CSR is actually generated, and that CSR is basically raised sent to the certificate authority. Okay, so whatever details we have provided during generation of public key, those details would be verified by the certificate authority, and once they finds them as valid, they will sign the they will prepare the digital certificate, and they will sign it with their private key, and they will provide that to us, because as on behalf of server we actually requested the CSR. Okay, so once that part is done, we have to create this .p12 file to so here, as we don't have the certificate from the certificate authority, we will use this public key file only. Okay, and we will combine the private key and the certificate file inside a p12 file. Okay, and it is asking for password, so I will use this password for this. And the same password I will use once again. So this is the p12 file password. It is also called key password. Okay, so this key password is this one. Now that certificate signing and other things, those private key, public key, these things are actually done. So what we will do, we will just exit from the OpenSSL, and also we will exit from the bash. Okay, now we will use key tool. This is already provided with the Java. So Java JRE has this key tool, and I have my Java path actually mentioned in the Java bin folder, actually mentioned in the path of my system. Okay, path variable of my system. That's the reason I would be able to call this key tool from anywhere. So as you can see, using this command, I am generating this p12 file, and I will give it I am generating basically the key store file. So this is the key store name. Okay, and I am actually importing the keys from this p12 file to this key store file, right? And I will use this password for this purpose, and I am actually copying the password, so as it does not show the password, so you won't be able to see that, so I have written it there. Now it is asking me the password for the key store. Enter the source password, right? So this is basically the key password, that key password we used. So this one we have to give, because we are importing that key, right? So I have given it, and now as you can see, it is showing import command completed, and one entry is successfully imported, and as you can see, entry for alias1 successfully imported. Okay, so and we will see that this is the JKS file which has been created, and this is the p12 file which was created using the step number 3. Okay, so these all files were actually intended for the server. So what I will do, I will copy these files and I will place it in the server folder. Okay, so I'll place this in the server folder. So now what we will do, I will go to this mule flow. I mean, in Anypoint Studio I have already created a flow, and this flow is having an HTTP listener. It is having the HTTP listener, and we will see the configuration of it. and we will basically configure the certificate which the key store which we have prepared here. This key store we will actually refer from this listener configuration. So as you can see, I have copied the files here in the server directory, so I will remove these files from here. Okay, so I have removed them, and what I will do, I will basically refer this jks file, that is the key store file. I will refer from the from our https from our http listener. Okay, so here I have given the path as https, and this is the description actually I have provided here. And let us go to the listener configuration. So in the listener configuration, as you can see, I am about to run the service at port number 8081, and it is referring in localhost. And as you can see, the protocol, I have to select https, and in the TLS section we have to go to the key store section. Okay, in the TLS tab we have to select edit inline, and from here we have to go to key store section, because right now we are about to implement one-way SSL, and in case of one-way SSL, the client actually verifies the digital certificate of the server. Okay, so the in one-way SSL, only one verification, the digital certificate of the server is verified by the client. Okay, the client's digital certificate is not verified by the, is not presented to the server, and it is not verified. So this is one-way SSL. In case of one-way SSL, we have to remember that the digital certificate of the server is verified by the client. In case of two-way SSL, server also presents its digital certificate to the client, and the client also presents its digital certificate to the server, and both the client and server verifies each other. Okay, so this is two-way SSL. So right now we are about to implement one-way SSL, right? So that is the reason we are not using the trustor component. Trustor configuration we are not using. We are using the key store configuration only, right? And here, as you can see, the path is actually it is not the actual path. So what I will do, I will take this path and I will put it there, and the file name we have kept it as it is. So this would be the actual path. Okay, and let us see the key password and key store password. So this is the key store password, and this is the key password which we have mentioned here. So this is the key password, and this is the key store password. The password you can choose it as per your convenience, and I have mentioned it here like this. So I'll just make it. So here, this insecure option, you don't need to select this. Okay, so make sure that this is actually unticked. Okay, so now as you can see, I am referring this jks file, that is the key store file. I am referring from here in the key store configuration of the listener, http listener, from the MuleFlow, and from here I have actually selected jks file, right? You can also select pkcs 12 file, so that can also be used, but here I have used as this jks file I have used. Okay, so I will just click OK. This is pretty much which is needed for configuring the HTTPS for the one-way SSL in Mule 4. Here just I have used the set payload option, and here I will just make it as static only, and success from HTTPS. This thing I will actually reply. And in case we want to log something, then we can just make it like request received, and This is pretty much, and I want to deploy this. So it is getting deployed. So what we will do is till the time the application gets deployed, we will have a look into our this certificate using the Key Store Explorer. Okay, so this is basically available online. You can download it easily. And here what I will do, I will open the JKS file which I created. So this is the file which I am using for HTTPS configuration in our MuleFlow, and here it is asking me for the key store password. I'll use this password and I'll open it. So as you can see, it is having one certificate, and if we just want to see the certificate details, as you can see the public key details as well as the private key details. Okay, so here if you see the algorithm is used for the encryption, it is RSA. Okay, and also let's have a look. As you can see, these are the details which we actually gave there, and here as you can see, this is the signature algorithm and this is the fingerprint. That means the SHA-1 is the algorithm which is used for hashing, right? So these are the details which you can explore using the Java Key Store tool, which is basically available easily online. So you can download it anytime and you can explore the details present in your JKS file. Let's see if our application is deployed. So our application is now deployed, right? And let me repeat here that we have implemented only one-way SSL here. Okay, so one-way SSL only we have implemented here. So let us just check how it is actually working. So what is the URL? It would be the HTTPS. So this is the URL actually, and we will find that the client, in this case the browser, is acting as a client, and the browser is not able to validate the digital certificate presented to it from the server. That means from this Mule runtime, right? From this MuleFlow, whatever from this MuleFlow, whatever digital certificate we or the whatever the certificate we are presenting to the server, that is the server is not able to validate that, because the certificate is actually self-signed, and it is, if we see the details, here are the details, and you can see it is clearly showing that this CA certificate is not trusted. To enable trust, install this certificate in the Trusted Root Certification Authorities store. So for every system, this is a dedicated location where we actually used to store the certificates. Okay, and if we see the details here, you will find the same information which we saw using the Key Store Explorer, and this is the certification path, right? And as you can see, it is showing as the certificate is not trusted because it is not in the Trusted Root Certification Authority store. Okay, so now we can see that the client is actually trying to validate the certificate presented to it from the server side, right? So this actually tells us about the one-way SSL implementation here, which we have just implemented using our MuleFlow. So what I will do, I will just click on advanced, and then I will click on proceed to localhost. I will click this option, and what I will see, I'll see the reply from our service, and as part of logging we will also see that the request received is also showing here. Now we will see how to implement the two-way SSL. Okay, so in case of two-way SSL, we have to configure the trust store also. So in the trust store, we will explicitly mention where from we want our mule flow to accept the requests. Okay, so after configuring the trust store, anyone won't be able to, I mean, just by hitting the URL, no one would be able to access our service. They have to first present their identity, and if that particular identity is present in the trust store of our application at the server side, so then only the request would be fulfilled by our mule flow. So we will see that. So for doing that, we have to actually prepare, we have to rerun the steps which we followed for creating the private key, public key, and the certificate generation. So those things we have to again perform, but this time it would be at client side. Okay, so once we create those certificates and those keys at the client side, we will just import the digital certificate of the client, or the certificate which is having the public key of the client, which we will import that to the trust store of our flow, of our mule flow. Okay, so let's do this part also. So at client side, where from the request is actually made, so at client side we will perform these steps. As you can see, the name is different. So again we will do, because we here the same system we are using as client as well as server, so we are about to execute these steps in this system only. So what I will do, I will again go to bash, and then I will go to OpenSSL, and then I will run this commands. And this time I will just quickly run these commands. And here I will say it as in image. This time I will call it as Mumbai, and organization name I will say it as client 1. Okay, and organization unit I will say it as client 1 mule, and common name I will keep it as mule 4 client 1. Client 1, and email address I will make it as client mule 4 at the rate client 1.com. okay, so we will see that those certificates would be actually created. So let's see. So as you can see, private key and public key is created. So now what I will do, I'll just run this command, and what it is showing, it is client 1, this is client 1 private certificate, import keys to this one. What it is showing, export, this is this, can't open mule public dot certificate. Okay, so there is some let's see what is the actual issue here. See, this is some different value, so we need to basically refer to this certificate, right? So this will be the actual value here. So I'll run this command once again. Actually during the copy there was some typo, so this time it should work. So as you can see, it is working. So the same password I will actually use here also, the key password I will use the same one. Let's do one thing, I will use some different password so that it's you can understand it properly. So here I will use this client. Okay, and the same thing I will use the key store password as the password of your store, and I will use it, right? So this is how I will actually use. So let's give the password as this one. So I have copied it, and I'll just left click and I'll put enter, and then left click, enter once again, and we'll see that the P12 file is actually created, right? And now it is the time for creating the key store for the client, right? So what we will do, we will exit from the OpenSSL, exit from the bash, and now I will just type it, and here as you can see it is asking for the password, so I will use this password. I have written it here, and I'll keep enter, and this time it is asking for this password, this key password, and here. So now as you can see, it has successfully imported the certificate. So this is self-signed certificate, so we are using the same thing. So what I will do is, in this case only the client actually verified the server's digital certificate which was presented to the client during the secure communication. So now we will configure the trust store here. So to generate and import the trust store, what we will do is, see, as you can see, this is the client one dash public key dot this certificate. This is the certificate, right? So the certificate of the client is actually required at the trust store. So these are client specific files. So I am moving it to the client folder. Okay, so I have moved it to the client folder, and now as you can see what I will do, I will use this certificate. I will use this certificate at the server side, that means at the MuleSoft side, and I will copy this, Control C, I will copy this and I will take it to the server folder. Okay, so I have taken it here, and now I will use this command to import that certificate to the mule-truststore.jks file. Okay, so let's change the directory to server, and now I will apply this command, and as you can see it is asking for the password, so I will keep it here as trust store. Trust store. So I'll give the password as trust store, again same password. As you can see, it has imported the certificate, but it is asking me whether to trust this certificate or not. So I am saying that trust this certificate. Okay, so I'm keeping it as yes, and it is showing as certificate was added to the key store. Basically whether it is key store or whether it is identity store or trust store, those all are actually type of key store only. Okay, so here I have stored the client's digital certificate. I am considering it as digital certificate, though I have used the self-signed certificate, but let us consider it as the certificate from certificate authority just for demonstration purpose. So I have imported that to the trust store of the of our server, but I haven't configured that in our listener configuration, right? So what I will do, I'll go here in the TLS section, and in the path section what I will do, the same path would be there because the certificate the trust store is also in the same at the same folder. the certificate, the trust store is file is present. So what I will do, I will use this same path and I'll put it here, and now I will keep the name as the trust store file name. So this is the trust store file name. Let us just copy the name as it is from here, and I will put it here, and now it will ask the password. So the password what we have given is this one, right? So this one I will give the password, and what is it, the type of the file is jks file, right? So that's it. Now let us just click ok, and we will save it and we will run the flow once again. It will actually automatically take the changes. So let's see. Once it is deployed, we will check it again. So our application is actually deployed, and let's try the same thing again, but this time let us just let me repeat here that this time we have implemented two-way SSL. Okay, so the certificate from the client will also be validated at the server side. Okay, so that means let's see what happens. So now as you can see, the browser is not able to connect to our service. What is the problem? As you can see, it is showing as SSL handshake error, null certificate chain. That means the certificate, whatever certificate or whatever certificate the certificate is presented from the browser to our Mule runtime or to our Mule flow which is deployed there. So whatever certificate was present, that is actually not present in our trust store, and as a result it is not allowing the request to go further to access our service. Okay, and also as we have not configured any certificate in the browser, so it is not sending any certificate for this particular request. So what we will do, we will use Postman to configure the certificate. Okay, to configure the certificate, so that digital certificate at the client side also, so that during the SSL handshake, during the secure communication initiation process, it also can present the certificate to the server so that the server can authenticate it. Let me just repeat once again here that I have just tried to reload the once again I have tried to access the service at the same URL, but it is not allowing. And at the same time it is also showing that the certificate which was presented from the server side, this is also not valid, right? So it is like this, the client is also trying to validate the server and the server is also trying to validate the client. So let us configure the Postman so that we can present the client certificate to the server which is present in the trust store. So as you can see, I have opened the Postman. So let us go to the actual settings of Postman, and here what I will first actually make this off, because our certificate is actually self-signed certificate. So SSL certificate verification, if it is on, then Postman will not actually allow that certificate from the allow that request to be sent to the server. Okay, so this will verify the certificate from the server side. So what I will do, I have just made it switched it off, and in the certificate section what I will do, I'll add client certificate. Okay, so here in the client certificate section, so here in the host section we have to give the local host, and this is the port number where we are actually trying to send the request. This is the certificate file which we created. As you can see, this is the path, the client files we are actually trying to access here. So this is the certificate which we generated, which is having the public key of the client. now we will refer the private key file, and this will be the P12 file which we generated. And here we have to give the password of this file. During generating the P12 file, we given a password, right? That is the key password. So this thing we have to mention here. And now as you can see, I'm adding this, so it is added. Now let's just clear the logs, and now we are here, and let's this time we are using two-way SSL, right? So from the postman side, the certificate of the client would be presented to the server, and from the server side, the certificate would be presented to our client, that is postman. Okay, so let's send the request, and you will see that a success response has been received, and it is of status code is 200, right? And if we go to the log section, we will see that the request received is log is printed, right? So this way the communication actually happened. And here as you can see, it is showing that the certificate presented from the server side was basically a self-signed certificate. So that's the reason it is giving us a kind of warning. Okay, and the certificate CA and issuer CA, and this thing you can see it here clearly, and the version is used TLS version 1.2, right? So let's see what happens if we remove the client certificate from these settings, right? So before that, let us try to access, as we are able to access the service using postman. Let's check if we are able to access the service using our browser. So I am just reloading this. That means I am trying to post the request once again, but this time also it is showing as the service is not reached, right? So in the log also we are again getting the same exception, right? So SSL handshake error. So you can see that we are able to access the same service using the postman, but we are unable to access it using this browser, because the browser is not presenting the client specific certificate which is configured at the SSL configuration, that is the HTTPS configuration of our MuleFlow. Okay, so now let us check one thing. I will just stop this flow, and what I will do, I will remove the certificate, I remove the client certificate from the trust store. Okay, so I'm just opening it, and what I will do, the trust store configuration, as per the trust store configuration, it is referring where it is referring to this file, this mule trust store file. Okay, so what I will do, I will open that file, and I will open that file and I will remove that certificate from there. So I'm opening this file, and this time it is asking for the password. So this is the password. And here as you can see, this is the certificate. So suppose if I remove it, so let's delete this one. So I have removed it and I am saving it. Now if I run the same application, let us check if the uh, if it is able to access if we are able to access the service using the postman or not. Okay, so before actually moving to the demonstration, what I will do is I will create a dummy certificate and I will put it here, because a key store or this trust store should contain at least one certificate in it. Okay, so that is the actual purpose of using that. So what I will do is I will quickly create uh, this certificates. And I will create another certificate here. So what I will do is I'll just dash it and then open SSL, and then I will use this, but this time I will make it as client 2. Okay, and this time I'll make it as client 2, right? So public key is created, and similarly I will create the private key. The private key is created. Similarly I will create the public key also. This will be 2 and this will also be 2, right? So the private key, the public key is generated, so I'll keep it as in, then image, and then it is also Mumbai. I will keep it as it is, and this time I will make it as client 2 private limited, and organization name I will make it as client 2 mule. Okay, organizational unit name, and this is the common name, so client 2 mule 4, and the email address mule4 at the rate client2.com. So the public certificate is also created, and I will create the P12 file. Okay, so these 3 steps I am actually repeating here. For client 2. Okay, so here I have mentioned it as 2, here also I'll mention it as 2, here also I'll mention it as 2, right? And in this section also I'll mention it as 2, and here also I'll mention it as 2, here also it is client 2, right? And here I will mention it as 2. Okay, so what I will do, I will create the P12 file. So it is asking for the password, so I will use this password here, same password again I am providing, and can't read password, validation failure. Okay, what is the issue? Okay, let's run the same key once again, same command once again, and so open SSL I am creating once again, open SSL, and copy the password file command, and this time this is the password. So this time it is okay, right? So the same password I have used, and we will see that the files are actually have been created here. So as you can see, these are client to specific files. So what I will do, I will create another folder and name it as client 2, and this three files I will move it there in the client 2 folder. And what I will do is I will import that particular pkcs. I will use this key tool command to import that certificate to the key store of our server, right? So before that, what I have to do, I have to take this certificate, I have to copy this to the server directory. Actually this is for just for my convenience, so you can do it anyway. You have to provide the path of the certificate. Okay, so the client certificate I have taken in the server folder, and what I will do is I will use this I'll run this command on the server folder. Okay, so I am just closing the OpenSSL, and also I will close the bash, and then as you can see I am in SSL folder. So now I will change the directory to server folder as the certificate is present in the server folder. So this time it is the public key, this certificate it is actually looking for, right? So this certificate I will make it as digital CA, DigiVolt CA1. I will make it as CA1. And now I am importing the same to the, and this time it will ask for the password. So this is the password we have used, and I have given the passwords. Again I have given the password, and it is showing whether to trust the certificate or not. I'll put it as yes. So now if we see just what we can do is we can close it, and then again if we open that trust store, we'll find one certificate there, and this time it is also again asking for that. So trust store password for this server is this one, so I'll put it here. Okay, why is it not showing here? Oh, okay, so this is basically some different key store, the trust store for file we have used. We should use this one. Okay, so this is actually during the copy paste we need to make sure that we are copying the right thing. Okay, so this one I have to use once again, and we will definitely find a folder, a file with this client trust store name. We have to delete this because this is not required, right? And what I will do is I will again run this command, and this time also the same password we have used for the server, and here I will put the password, and this time yes. And let's see if there is any kind of refreshing thing. No refreshing. So what I will do is I will just close it, and I'll open it once again, and this time this one, and again it will ask for the password. I'll put the password here, and as you can see it is DigiVolt CA, right? So this is the command which we have just run, and this time as you can see our at Postman we have actually configured the certificate of the client 1, right? So this is the client 1 certificate. So this certificate we have configured in client in the Postman, right? In the Postman we have configured the certificate of client 1. So during the request, Postman will present this certificate to the server, but in the server, at the server side, we have not trusted that particular certificate of client 1. We have trusted the certificate of client 2. So how to verify that? There would be some certificate sequence number would be there, serial number. See, this is the certificate serial number. So this is basically, this is now trusted by our server. But if we open the certificate, that means the client if we open the um, certificate of the client one, that is not having this serial number. Okay, so that is different. That means what I am trying to say here is like, the client 2 is having different certificate, which is trusted by our server, but the client 1 is not trusted by our server. Okay, so if the postman presents the client 1 certificate, then that won't be actually accepted. That is the thing I am trying to say here. So let's do one thing. Let's run our service. I'll run it. So as you can see, our flow is deployed now. Okay, so it is now deployed. Let's check if postman is able to connect to our service or not, because the certificate which is used by postman is not is no longer trusted by our server, right? Because it is not having the certificate of the client one in the trust store. Okay, so let's push the message. I mean, let's request the service. As you can see, it is TLS connection was not established before client network socket disconnected before secure TLS connection was established, right? And in the at the server side, if you can see, the SSL handshake is actually failed, right? That means the certificate which was presented from the postman to the server, it was not trusted by our server. That's the reason the request was actually rejected. Okay, so now what we will do, we will go to the settings of postman, and what we will do, we will go to the certificate section, and we will also keep this SSL verification, certificate verification, this one we will keep it as off, because this is needed for the self-signed certificate. Okay, so because the server is presenting the self-signed certificate to the client, so to allow that we need to switch this off. Okay, and at the certificate section, what we will do, we will add another certificate, and this time we will add what, we will add the certificate of client 2. Okay, so 8081, and then this time we will add client 2, and this is the certificate, and this time this is the private key, this is the P12 file, right? And what was the password? This was the password for the P12 file, so I will mention that here in the postman, and that's it. So it is now saved, and let us just send one more request, and this time we see that the response was received successfully, right? And the similar thing, as it is self-signed certificate, that's the reason it is showing as some warning. So this is how the two-way SSL actually works in real life scenario. Also, in case of real life project, you have to configure the same way, whether you are using any other application as client. Suppose from Mule itself, if you are developing one application which will consume the services from other service, then also if the two-way SSL is enabled for the service, for that service, you have to configure the same way we have configured here, right? Actually the topic is big, so it took long for me to explain all the things. I hope you will keep patience and you will see the video, and in case you have any question, please do comment. And regarding this one, I will request you to once you see the video, make sure that you do it yourself at least 2 times, so that you get the actual inner concepts uh, easily. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much.